I brought 7 of my cute grandchildren for you guys. You like children, don't you? She had suddenly arrived at our newly built house with the children without even informing us. I'm Amanda, 34 years old, and I've been married for 2 years to my husband, Will. We make a living together by teaching programming at a school we own. I had always admired teachers since I was a child, and even took the teacher certification exam, but ended up owning a school. My job is fulfilling every day. Our dream as a couple is to build a house together, and we have been working hard for several years, saving money. Thanks to financial supports from my parents, we plan to achieve our dream of owning our own home earlier than expected this year. However, there is one concern in our life, which is our relationship with my husband's family. Will is the third of 4 siblings, and his father and mother favor the eldest son and eldest daughter while neglecting Will. With the birth of his younger brother, his parents' affection was redirected towards him. When Will was a high school student, he started working part-time and decided to use the money to take out a scholarship to go to college. He was about to move out of his parents' house when it happened. His mother had taken the money he had saved and gave it to his older brother without his knowledge. By the time Will found out, it was all gone. As a result, he was forced to commute 3 hours back and forth to university every day. After starting university, Will worked 2 part-time jobs and worked himself to the brink of exhaustion. From that time on, he was estranged from his family. When the topic of our marriage came up, he told me about his relationship with his parents. I told him to what he wanted, and he reported our marriage to his parents, even if it was just a formality. Then, an unexpected response came back to us.
Amanda, I'm so glad you came. Please take care of my precious son.
Will, I'm sorry for everything, that we couldn't give you love and care when you were a child. Surprisingly, my mother-in-law bowed her head to us when we visited. I am not saying that everything will be fixed right away, but we've changed. Could we start over as a family? With a gentle smile, she spoke these words. I wonder if they realized how much they mistreated Will while he were apart for several years. Or maybe Will exaggerated the situation when talking to me. But I was relieved that an opportunity had come for Will to repair his relationship with his family. And not only my mother-in-law, but also my father-in-law and Will's siblings blessed us, and we were able to get married safely. For a while, we had a good relationship with the in-laws. However, things began to change little by little in the summer of the year we got married. The summer break period was a time when the training of the programming class became more intense. Will and I were both busy every day. Then one day, I received a call from my sister-in-law.
Amanda, it's been a while.
Oh, hi. How have you been?
Good. You know, Amanda, I have a favor to ask.
Without even saying hello properly, my sister-in-law started telling me about her request.
Can you give my child the programming class materials?
I'm sorry, but we only have enough materials for the number of students. And it's also against the rules to give them for free. When I apologized like that, my sister-in-law continued with dissatisfaction.
What? Can you do something about it?
I thought it will be good for my son's future. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Alright, got it. See ya.
My sister-in-law persisted in asking me for teaching materials, but I refused because I couldn't. She hung up the phone when she found out she couldn't get what she wanted. I felt uneasy about her attitude. but I only told Will about the fact that I had been asked for materials but refused. At that time, Will had begun to become more positive in his attitude toward his family, so I didn't want to cause any more trouble.
Well, we can't give them the materials, but should I give them some advice instead?
After listening to me, Will contacted his sister and said that, in hindsight, this may have been the beginning of everything. A few days after his sister contacted me, Will's mother contacted me about her grandchild.
Amanda? Hi.
It's about my grandchild.
You are a programming teacher, right? Would you be willing to teach him in your spare time?
Oh, hi. How's it going? Want me to teach? Well, the thing is, it's the summer break now, so I'm busy for a while. Wouldn't it be better to consult with the local programming school or a school teacher?
It's not worth sending him to a programming school like that. The school teacher's classes are also shoddy, that I can't trust them.
But considering the future, it would be better to consult with them, after all.
Anyway, if you have some free time, would you come and see my grandchild? Okay?
She interrupted me and hung up the phone. I told Will about this, but for this instant, I told him everything as it was. After listening to me, Will expressed his displeasure with his mother's attitude, but said that his nephew was not at fault, and he thought about it for a moment before saying,
Well, when our work comes down a bit, should we take care of our nephew for a while?
And so, our hectic schedule during summer break ended without incident. We made time and immediately visited my sister-in-law's house. She has 2 children, but this time we were looking after her second son, who is in elementary school. However, I told my sister-in-law that my nephew's knowledge was lagging way behind and that we should protest to the school. It turned out that my nephew was hardly attending school at all. Additionally, it seemed that my sister-in-law had neither taught him at home nor asked about the progress of his classes at school. I mean, it's the fault of the teacher or the school. That doesn't match my son's needs. So, you should do something instead. You teach, right? She said this one-sidedly to us, leaving us speechless. We had a light conversation with my nephew and went home that day. After that, we visited my sister-in-law's house several times and took care of my nephew. We spent more time teaching him regular studies and having casual conversations than programming. As a result, my nephew was able to go back to school safely, and we were relieved. However, demands from my in-laws escalated day by day. They wanted us to provide free home tutoring or give a discount for their children to attend the programming class. This reminded Will of the past with his family, and he hesitated to cut off the relationship that was starting to be repaired. But he gradually began to meet their demands, even if it was a bit difficult. I was worried about Will and talked to him several times, but he replied,
I don't want to cause any trouble for you, and I want to do what I can because I feel sorry for the children. Besides, our relationship with my parents is improving.
I couldn't say anything against his sincerity, so I decided not to interfere with anything other than financial assistance. On his day off, Will visited his sisters' and brothers' homes. In addition to his own work, he created materials and took care of their children, devoting himself without any sleep. However, their attitude towards him was inversely proportional to his devotion. Since you've left our house and haven't done anything for us, you can at least do this much, right?
Yep, you're right.
You've always been a burden on this family.
Every time we are called to our in-laws' house, we have to listen to their nasty comments like that. They also do the same to me, not just my husband. Will always comes, but what about Amanda? What is she doing? I wonder if she doesn't feel like to do much for her husband's family. I had been patient for Will's sake until then, but I couldn't remain silent at my sister-in-law's words. This is about your own child, right? Isn't it supposed to be the mother and the father who should be making an effort? Why are only Will and I helping you? I don't remember being ridiculed like this, despite all our efforts. I replied boldly with these words. My in-laws seemed a little surprised by my words, but they still persisted.
But we are a family, so we should support each other, right? So, what's with that attitude of yours?
My mother-in-law was angry, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law followed suit and started to criticize me. I wanted to say, we've never received any support from you guys to begin with. So what do you mean by supporting each other? But I held back my words and clenched my fists. As I watched Will, who was dumbfounded by the scene, I realized that I had to leave. So I left my in-laws' house without saying a word. As I was leaving, Will came after me and muttered,
I'm sorry. I finally woke up. I must have been like a slave again to these heartless people.
After a few years had passed, we had almost completely cut off ties with my in-laws. However, because of their children, Will continued to teach them, although with less frequency than before. During this time, we received assistance from my parents and were able to prepare to build our new home earlier than planned. However, somehow my mother-in-law found out about our new home and started to interfere. She strongly insisted that we make it a two-family home and would visit unannounced to voice her opinions on the construction of the new house. As the construction of the new home progressed, and we were only a few months away from moving in, a plumbing error was discovered. Since our current home had already been terminated, we had to temporarily move into a nearby property that the plumbing company covered the cost for. Although it was a temporary home, it was very spacious and impressive. Then, we came up with an idea. We had not told our in-laws our new home address because of their persistence. So instead, we gave them the address of our temporary home. When we finally moved to our new home, we went through various procedures to completely sever our ties with my in-laws. However, my mother-in-law visited our temporary home and announced, with 7 grandchildren in tow, including my brother-in-law's children, ranging from high school students to kindergarten-aged children. It was like a circus, and my mother-in-law pushed the front door and said something that left me dumbfounded. I brought 7 of my cute grandchildren for you guys. You like children, don't you? My sister-in-law spoke to me to add my mother-in-law's words. We're going on a trip with only the adults, starting today. You guys have time off, right? Can you take care of these kids while we're gone? Make sure to feed them and bathe them properly, okay? As I noticed the noisy atmosphere at the entrance, my husband came out from the back. Then I confidently said to my in-laws, who are you guys? Huh? My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were surprised at the same time.
What do you mean? Who are we? What is this?
Yeah, what are you talking about? We're even giving you a chance to rebuild the relationship with your husband's family. They began to shout in anger at my words. My husband and I continued the conversation in the same tone.
What do you mean by my husband's family? Well,
Do you know these people?
No, I don't know them.
Aren't they your acquaintances, Amanda?
I don't know such shameless people.
Right. If you were talking about my husband, Will, he was recently adopted into my family. So my family is now his family. What business do you strangers have here? My in-laws were taken aback by my words. However, my mother-in-law immediately came back to attack.
What are you doing? Adopted? Don't be silly. And what's with this house? It's not a two-family house, is it?
Saying this, my mother-in-law began to make a scene, throwing shoes at me and knocking over the vase by the entrance. What are these people saying, Will?
I don't know, but something seems off. Let's call the police just in case.
Just as Will was taking out his phone to call the police, my mother-in-law seemed to understand the situation and shouted out,
Don't think you can get away with doing something like this for free.
Oh, please, take the children and leave. If not, I'll have to report it to Child Protective Service. As I piled on, my sister-in-law hastily put the children in the car, kicked over a potted plant near the gate, and drove away. I immediately contacted my family and the real estate agency that had rented us the property, explaining the situation. My father answered the call and quickly arranged for a lawyer. He also said he would take steps to ensure that our ex-in-laws would not come near us. The broken vase and potted plant were actually provided by the real estate agency, but a surveillance camera had been installed at the entrance, so we were able to seek compensation for the damage as property damage. Later, my ex-brother-in-law called us on the phone.
You canceled our trip, so pay for the cancellation fee and compensation. Also, pay for the damages caused by abandoning the children.
Since my brother-in-law made such an unreasonable request, we recorded the conversation and reported to the police as blackmail. In the end, my ex-mother-in-law and sister-in-law were charged with property damage, and my ex-brother-in-law was charged with blackmail and dealt with by the police. We had secretly been in contact with our nephew, whom we had looked after first. According to him, my sister-in-law was apparently giving a divorce as a result of this incident, and the children were taken by their father's family. We were able to obtain a restraining order against our ex-in-laws, and there were no further attacks afterwards. Our house was also safely completed, and we were able to move into our new home. As for me, I have been studying to become a child psychologist while working, secretly hoping to become a source of support for children like Will and my nephew. I've also begun to consider welcoming new family member. We want to live honestly and sincerely for the children who may come to us someday.